So this is how I built my massive Minecraft build in only 3 hours. I've already built a couple things on this world. Here was something else I built. Let me know if you want a video on this one. But I started off this build knowing that I wanted to make something in my head using blocks like amethyst, blackstone, and making some sort of alien landscape. I already had this idea in my head for a bit because I hadn't played Minecraft for a while, so it became pretty easy to just get on and start building. I started off on the world by just making some custom trees using amethyst, wool, and just a variety of purple blocks, using some fences and amethyst bulbs for detail and things like that, just so it doesn't look too plain and blocky. I learned world edit next, which I knew a bit from doing my other project that I showed earlier on. I really only knew how to copy and paste things. So while knowing that, I didn't know how to do it well, so I spent a good 15 minutes just watching a video, learning how to replace landscapes, copy and paste pretty quickly, and just various other commands I could do with world edit to speed up the process a bit. Doing this took me onto my third step, which was transforming the land. And to make it kind of look like an alien sort of landscape, I used like very dead blocks almost. They're just lots of grays and blacks. I used like stone, cobblestone, blackstone, I think like andesite as well. Really that like gray tone of blocks. And with the replace thing, it just replaced all of the sand and sandstone and changed the entire landscape just to be randomized with all of those blocks with tough and deep slate as well. And that's what created this really cool landscape. Once I had that pasted down, and I already pasted down a couple of trees as well just to get a feel of how it could look. I kind of already had an image in my head of what I wanted to build, but I used Pinterest just to have a look at different ideas of what people have built with blocks like blackstone and deep slate, so I could see what I wanted to use with mine. And I wanted to keep that like purple color as sort of an outline for my build. So as you'll see later on, I incorporated purple with beacons and these like floating light things. When I was building in this time lapse especially, I built and really detailed my structures. I gave them a pretty simple outline at first just so I could kind of knew where I wanted to work off of. Then I started detailing and made them in a kind of modular way so that way I could copy and paste different parts of it around and I could use it for different things in the build because it would help me save time. And originally I wasn't trying to do this in like a time challenge or anything. Like I was just trying to build because I just was bored for the day. I had the day off. But it ended up being one of my most impressive builds. So by making this a modular build, I could split it up and like I said, use it later on. I eventually used this to finish off some of my smaller structures and also placing the rest of my trees around. Like I had some medium-sized trees I was also pasting under or around the builds. I also copied a couple of my modular pieces to make a sort of landing pad, which I thought fit kind of well because that area looked pretty bare and I felt that there could be something kind of cool to put there. Then I started working on the next thing that I want to build, the next big attraction of this, which would be the nether portal. Now I saw this similar design on Pinterest and I thought it was a pretty cool idea. So I ended up making my own version of it, having some like glowing frog lights as accents, which kind of reflected pretty well with the nether portal's glow. So that combined with some of the blocks I used on the ground made it fit in really well. And I really like the way it turned out actually. I did some changes to it in the end, like leaving the middle bit open a bit, and so you can see lots of frog lights and kind of the internal of it. Now moving on, I made the big attraction of the entire landscape, which was kind of combined from the modular pieces and formed in like the way of an end city, how it starts kind of small and then builds off and branches up, kind of like a tree. So I started pasting that smaller structure that I did before on 4 different ends, all in the north, east, south, and west end. And I leveled them at different heights in sort of a spiral shape and connected them by a big pillar in the middle. Then did some detailing for the bridges and added these void kind of lights that fit pretty well and kind of gave the whole thing a bigger glow to show that it was kind of the main attraction if it wasn't kind of obvious already. The landscape was still kind of bare, so I used my smaller trees, some torch plants. I don't even know what these are called. Anyway, I used these. You know what they are. Along with lightning rods and stuff to make some cool like artifact structures just to kind of place around everywhere. And then before I knew it, I was on my final thing, which was making like broken bridges kind of leading into the lake, which would be towards my next build, so they kind of all link together. But again, it was kind of just filling space as well. So I used a bit of iron bars, chains, blackstone, and deep slate. So it didn't look too complete, so it still looked quite broken. I couldn't really use the cracked blocks I wanted to besides cracked blackstone. Then I just started moving builds around, like doing more modular pieces. I'd split things up to make different structures and just paste them around the build. And then I just added final details to make sure everything was all built in like correctly with the ground or moving the landscape around if some bits have been removed with word edit.